a regular virtual meeting via Zoom for Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. This is the call to order at 6 o'clock. Item number 2 is public input, and I've been informed that there is no one from the public to speak today. So we will move to item 3, applications for permits. That would be Philip M. Roku, proposed 2-lot re-subdivision with impact within the Upland Review area located at 758 New Bern Avenue. May I have a motion to take the application off the table?
I'll make a motion that we take it off the table.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, it's unanimous. All right, it's off the table. Let's start discussion. Mr. Cassidy, we have a new soils report. Would you like to give us an update on the project?
Yes. So for the record, my name is Jim Cassidy with the engineering firm of Halsey, Pearson & Cassidy. At your last meeting, we presented our application for the proposed subdivision of a piece of property at 758 New Bern Avenue. One of the things that came out of that meeting was Mr. Stevens asked for a copy of the soils report that George Logan from Remote Ecological Services had provided for us. We did submit that to Mr. Alvarado, and I hope it was forwarded to everybody and they have it in their hands. But as was represented on the plan, the primary soil types in the wetlands was Wilbraham Midlow soil. The upland area, if I can just share my screen, it may help a little here. Just give me 1 second. So the southern portion of the property, the wetlands area, is primarily Wilbraham Midlow soil. The middle portion where the development's going on in here was a Cheshire Holyoke type soil. And then the front portion, basically just a little sliver in here, we have a Manchester sand and gravel. So it's pretty consistent with what we showed on the original plans. He does make reference to Eudorthans, which is basically some areas within the center of the site where there's been some grading that's happened over the course of the years. And also there's reference to a small portion of wetlands disturbed soils. And just a little history. At one point, the Romanos used to own not only the house and the piece outlined in blue, but they used to own this track all the way back another about 2,000 feet, which became part of the Hunter's Ridge subdivision. And when that occurred, there used to be paths or like a cart path that used to cross the wetlands. You can actually see a little bit of a stub here in the wetlands where there was a little cart path that actually crossed and went to the rear portion of this property. So that's the disturbed soils that Mr. Logan is talking about in his report. The other thing that came out of the last meeting was that there was a recommendation that we put a conservation easement around the wetlands and the upland review, or sorry, the undisturbed area as proposed as part of this development. We had updated the plans. So basically from where the existing tree line is all the way back to the southerly property line would now become a conservation easement. So the area with the cross hatching would be a conservation easement. That entire area works out to about 2.11 acres of the total of the 4.05 acres of this proposed lot. So almost a little better than half the lot would actually be in the conservation easement at this point. For development, again, all this is for at this point is just to be able to cut out the lot. We're showing a schematic house on the property, the driveway and the septic system and utilities to it. And we are also showing a schematic location for a rain garden that could be associated with the house to pick up the roof leaders. We feel that all this can be accomplished without doing any additional clearing. It could all be within the existing cleared area that's on this property, other than the reconstruction of the driveway. There's a dirt driveway into the site, so there'd be some minor clearing along that driveway associated with this. So at the end of the day, what we're looking at is we would have a regulated, sorry, got to get back to that page. So based upon the schematic development plan we're showing you right now, we're looking at a total regulated activity in the 100-foot upland review area of about 8,600 square feet. But again, it's already an area that's cleared for mitigation measures to improve on the buffer. Again, we are proposing to plant a row of mountain laurels, basically at about 5 feet on center, 24 inches high, right along the edge of the clearing. And this would basically create a demarcation between the existing larger deciduous trees that are out there and the wetlands buffer that remains out there today. So with that, I hopefully answer any questions you had from the last meeting. Glad to answer any more questions you may have.
Okay, thanks. For a bit of bookkeeping right now, Commissioner Desai is not here and Commissioner Liska will be voting for Commissioner Desai, and Commissioner Whelan is not here and Commissioner O'Connor is going to be voting. With that, I'll start the questions. Commissioner Stevens, do you have anything to ask?
I think they answered my question from the previous meeting about the soil report, and the only other thing I could add is it looks like what's the buffer, about 50 to 60 feet
About
from
60 feet at the narrowest point right now.
60 feet? Okay. I think that's pretty much all the questions I have. I don't have anything more to add.
Okay, Commissioner Schweitzer, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Liska, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Commissioner Zach?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Connor?
No, I have no questions. I think they completed the mission.
Okay, and that leaves, as far as I can tell, that should leave me. And I just want to thank Mr. Cassidy for a very good presentation last meeting and this meeting. I have no questions. So at this point, I think it's time someone to propose that we take a vote. Do I have a motion to vote on the application?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the application for a permit for the Philip M. Roque proposed 2-lot re-subdivision with impacts within the upland review area located at 758 New Britain Avenue.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed to this application? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you for your time, Mr. Cassidy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. We don't have an item 4 on the agenda. Item 5, action taken, minutes presented for approval for the March 10th, 2021 meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for the March 10th, 2021 meeting.
All right, does anyone have any additions, subtractions, corrections for the meeting from the minutes for the March 10 meeting?
I'll second Sandy's motion first.
Oh, sorry, but anyway, all right. Sorry, rushing. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Now, do I have anyone that wants to change or add anything to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes carried. All right, item 6, discussion. A, wetland fines.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, we discussed this a little bit at the last meeting, but I wanted to do it again to see if there was any questions related to the chapter 160 of the Rocky Hill Code, which is the wetland fines. And just to explain it again, we have 2 sets of fines. Fines for violations and fines for non-compliance of the notices of violation. Usually for violations, we tend to solve them relatively easy. And so, the first notice of violation, is when the applicant has to come back to the committee and do the paperwork and give you what he's supposed to give you. Second notice of violation then starts carrying fines, but they're one-time fines. And the second notice is $250. The third notice, so the third violation could be up to $1,000. However, where we have had to implement, if you will, is the failure of notices of violation or response to the notices of violations. That's where we have fined people several times, and that involves a fine per day, which is ranges from anywhere from $100 a day to $200 a day from the moment we discover the violation. So it can add up to quite a bit of money. So we had fined people those fines, and I know that some time ago, I think it was in October or November of last year, there was some discussion as to what is it that other towns are doing out there relative to wetlands fines, and B, whether or not we can structure our fines to more or less to deal directly with the type of violation that occurs in a specific property. And I made a few phone calls to our surrounding towns, and as stated before, the other towns are really not doing a heck of a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, to be honest, so we found that I spoke to Weathersfield, Glastonbury, Cromwell. Forgot what other town I spoke to. So they're not really doing much. The structures that they have, it isn't much of a structure. We in Rocky Hill have actually a little bit more structure by following the steps that we're taking, instead of finding people by, I think we were discussing, the type of tree or the size of tree that could be, the fines could be implemented. I don't know if you want to proceed with that route. We can certainly investigate it if you want to. I just wanted to let you know that once the process, is started, and once we try to revise the existing chapter, it has to be looked at by our town attorney also, and he will have to give us some ideas. So I don't know if you wanted to leave it as is, or you wanted us to look at alternative type of fines. And be honest with you, we're going to have to do it on our own, because we really do not have guidance from other towns or the DEP, because the DEP fines are, $1,000 per day, but they're never really. I never see them implemented.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
If you're
Kelly.
through, Bob, are you all set?
Yes, I am. So.
Okay. I've seen us institute these fines twice in the time that I've been on this commission. And as they are, with the amounts that they are, they've been very effective. I think the longest somebody went was maybe 7 days. Am I right? Or was it more like 4 days? I mean, these really got people where it hurt. And I don't know that we have to change them at all. That's just my opinion, because I see they're effective. Would you agree, Bob, that people have kind of when they've gotten fined?
They have gotten people's attention. We have fined anywhere from, I believe it's $2,400 to $8,500. One of them, or maybe the two of them, were reduced somewhat, but we still, collected quite a bit of funds that I don't know where they went. Probably the general fund. But anyways, they did pay up, and not only did they pay up, but they also fixed whatever violations needed to be fixed in compliance with your regulations. So we kind of accomplished both. I mean, the fines, as I see them, are a deterrent, and they've been working pretty good up to a certain point. I mean, yes, we still have some violators out there, and we still have to deal with show cause hearings and cease and desist orders and so forth. But they're not as many as the other towns. To be honest with you, I see the towns that I contact, and they have their hands full, maybe because they don't have the tools that we have. Almost there.
Right.
I have a quick question, Chairman.
Yes. Who's speaking?
O'Connor. I just have a
Hi.
quick question,
There
sir.
you are. Okay.
Bob, I know that one of the things that we were kind of concerned about was clear cutting.
Yes.
That was one area. That was the area we were really looking at hard, where we didn't feel that was properly fined, where somebody could go in there and clear cut a half acre, a quarter acre, a large area into the inland wetlands. And that was where we had our concerns. Everybody on the commission had a concern with that. And that was the area we were really looking at to clean up and fix. Rocky Hill, from Parks Department, engineering, zoning to everything, police department has always been the first of everything to do in the region. Usually people follow what we're doing. I think it's a pretty well-run town. Staff that does very, very professional job and looks at things in a very different light compared to most other organizations or other municipalities. So I think that's something we do need to visit, because we did have that one thing, and there really was no like rhyme or reason where to go with it. And we had to come up with a solution. Luckily, we have people but you are setting the groundwork for the people who are going to replace you. And the people replacing you are not going to have 30 years of experience in handling and growth from a small little community to a larger community that we are now, and we are going to continue to grow. So I concur with Kelly, but I think we really do need to look at that clear cutting part, and I think we do need to sharpen our pencil and set up our next evolution of employees that are going to be coming here in the next 5 to 10 years, because most of you staff is going to be retiring, as we see already going along in the police department and some other divisions. And I think we need to make sure we get on top of this, because they're not going to be able to address it for the first 5, 10 years of them inside to get their knowledge, because most of the people we're getting are younger staff. So that's just my concern.
Well, may I ask, the clear cutting, Drew, are you talking, or should I call you O'Connor? Are you talking about changing the amounts of the fines, or changing the structure and adding another clause or another category of something that can be fined? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
And there was no fine for clear cutting right out of the box.
Okay, so, and I was addressing the amounts. Maybe that wasn't clear. So
Yeah, I understand that.
that is something that has to be added to our town regulations.
Yeah, we don't have a fine at all. You can go in there, clear cut it, and then it's, if you don't follow up in doing things, there was no, remember all those trees that were taken down? There really was nowhere to address it right off the bat. So if you decide, hey, I just want a bigger yard, there was no deterrent to stop you from doing that. And it was a small minuscule fine. There was nothing saying about size or duration of area that you cleared or what you want. So that was a concern we all had.
That was a conservation easement clear cutting. So really we have to address violations in conservation easements, whether it's clear cutting or filling or dredging or whatever. So right. Okay, I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
I can take a look at that, Drew.
Yeah, that was I mean, your knowledge is going, all your knowledge is, everybody has to retire, Bob, we're going to lose a lot of knowledge in the next 5 to 10 years. And my concern is our job as commission and other things that I'm on, my job is to facilitate something for the future to make sure our town continues moving in the progressive manner while I'm on these commissions or boards. And if we don't do that, we just look at the short term here, then that's a failure on my feeling of my position or anybody on these positions to look at only the hop, skip, and a jump week to week thing. We all need to be looking at where we want to be in 5 years as homeowners and as people in the community, and where do we want our community to go, and what do we believe our people in the community want this area to go to. I mean, the farm is a perfect example. I mean, the town has been taking a progressive measure with the mayors and the councilors to take up open space to keep it at where we are. I mean, if you look at our development, we are very different than Newington, Weathersfield stuff. They're out of land. We are not out of land. And we have worked, many commissioners and all the different boards work very diligently to make sure we're protecting what this town is, to keep the town and the value of what the people who live here wants. And that's what our mission is.
Okay, I mean, if you like, I can, I can certainly look into an amendment to chapter 160 that would address clear cutting within wetlands, water courses, conservation easements, and so forth, and draft some language and see where it takes us. How does that sound?
That'd be great. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, I want to add into that, I mean, our goal isn't to find people, but to make sure people don't clear cut in the first place, get the information out. I'd hate for us to start finding somebody who just didn't know. I mean, we've got it in place, not restitution, but rebuilding what was there, although, it'll take years for mature trees to grow back. So it's a tough balance between stopping people and punishing people. I mean, if we can prevent them in the first place, if we can figure that out, how to let people know that they have land not to be cutting.
Well, fines always make people seek information. And if you decide you're going to cut off tree or do something that's in a conservation area that you've purchased the land that you should know as a conservation area and it's in your deed, it's no different than a speeder or stop sign. You're not going to roll the stop sign in there, but if you know it's $124.
Oh yeah,
right?
no,
it's always there, but it always can be waived. I mean, there's always a process there should be a process to say, hey, I didn't know. And if they can prove that fact, then, you have to have that leniency and built into the regiment of the fines, that it's not just a starch thing. That's a clear cut thing that's going to happen. There is always a leniency that's in there, and that can be done by the commission.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything to add on this? All right. Eileen, just for the record, Commissioner Whelan joined the meeting at 6:07. Okay, moving on to Plan of Conservation and Development, the Plan Implementation Committee. Any news?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had a meeting last week. Most of the meeting dealt with Rocky Hill's application for Greenway designation from the state DEEP. And I don't know if anybody's even familiar with this. DEEP is trying to get towns to work on walking, biking trails and pathways. And if you can show the information from your town, what you have, what is useful, and fill out the application and send it in, you get this designation. And the designation enables you to be eligible for funding, which you could use to repair areas of your greenway. We have prepared, and I have to give Ed Chicarillo the kudos on this, the documentation to apply for this, which would be the area from, let's say, the ferry all the way through the meadows, which is walking, biking. And the strong point is that we connect to Weathersfield, who's also applying for this greenway designation. And the state really wants connectivity. They would love to see town to town to town. So we're in the process of applying. We voted to approve it through PIC, send it to the council meeting. I'll be doing a presentation at the council meeting next Monday on the finer details. Shouldn't be very long, so that the councilors understand what it is, and then it's up to the mayor to do a resolution and sign off on the application. So that was the majority of what we talked about at the PIC meeting last week, the Greenway nomination.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, we've got the meadows, it's hooked up, and especially now that our half isn't open to traffic, it makes it much more conducive to walking, running, cycling.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, moving on to C, status report, various projects. How are we doing, Bob?
Yeah, so one of the projects that I just heard of this week was the Old Main Street subdivision. As you recall, that subdivision, your involvement was as the Open Space and Conservation Commission, because they did provide some open space or potential open space to the town of Rocky Hill. So this subdivision is located, of course, off of Old Main Street, and just I want to say just south of Gulf Lane, and west of the railroad tracks. So just to give you a little bit of background on it, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the subdivision was approved by the Planning and Zoning Committee, was challenged by the DEEP because the developer, they didn't feel that the developer had the proper permits to trespass onto DEEP land that is basically not only controlled by the DEEP, but also controlled by the town that provides access to Quarry Park. So that has been in court for at least a couple of years. And we did hear from staff members of the DEP that that presently they're looking to settle with the developer and come up with an agreement to allow them to move forward with the subdivision. Subdivision is comprised of 14 lots, and I forgot what the acreage of open space was, but also part of that subdivision is to provide a trail from Gulf Lane or Gulf Brook Lane into Quarry Park, not all the way to Quarry Park, but the DEP might be looking at making that trail or having the developer provide a trail all the way into Quarry Park. That might be part of the agreement from what I hear, but like I said, we have not seen anything in writing as of this point. It's only been verbal communications with the DEP staff person.
Bob, question?
Yes.
Bob, on that, wasn't there also an issue of their putting their sewers and their connections in?
Exactly. That's why the DEP stepped in. Did they
resolve that?
They run basically drainage, sewer, not water, but sewer and drainage along the state's property without state's permission. And that's.
Did they resolve it?
They're looking to resolve it now. That's what they're looking to do. That's what they're looking to, come up with an agreement. We really do not know the details of the agreement, but they're looking to settle. It's been, like I said, it's been in court at least for the past 2 years, if not longer. So hopefully we can, I can bring you up to speed the next meeting and give you a few more details. Hopefully at that time we would know what the agreement is and what is it that they were supposed to be doing. Just moving on to the former Rocky Hill landfill. As you know, the former landfill consultants and owners filed a permit with the DEP for the landfill closure. The permit was filed on January 20th. The DEP is looking at it and to see, basically cleaning it up before they put it out for public meeting. So once it's cleaned up, they're going to have a public information meeting on it. We've been doing a few meetings here and there. Just to bring you up to speed as to the changes that are taking place there. The former landfill was, once it was capped, once it was completely done, was supposed to have a passive recreation component. Well, now the use, post-closure use has been changed now to a solar farm. So they're looking at reducing the amount of fill that is to be brought into the property, and also having a post-closure use of a solar farm. And I guess the DEP has been, like I said, involved with them also. And they're also working together with Eversource in trying to, come up with a plan that will work. So once it goes through DEP and the review team that has been set up to also look at this, then it will come back to land use boards and committees, which will be the Planning and Zoning, and of course, this commission as the Inland Wetlands Agency. But that will be, somewhat down the line, a few months down the line. from what I see. Also, the foundry, we haven't had any movement on the foundry. I was kind of surprised. They did put out a request for proposals for taking down the silos and taking down the friendly auto body and you know, a lot of the demolition that is to take place on site. They did do some demolition on their own, but of course the silos are probably the biggest item that needs to still be addressed. As far as I know, they did obtain all their permits. You know, I've been in contact with them, but I really do not know. I haven't been told what the holdup is. So, so you know, they have 2.5 years left on this permit. The permit completely expires October of 2023. So let's see what happens then. And so, you know, Straska's Farm, I don't know if anybody has driven by New Britain Avenue and New Road. The site is being cleaned up. There was a contractor that was hired to clean up the site. Is looking a lot different than it did, you know, a few months ago. And that will be an ongoing process. I believe the town gave this contractor a month from the starting date, which was about 2 weeks ago, to complete the work. The fields are being plowed so they can be planted, and you know, it's looking like a farm again. So hopefully we can keep it that way. You know, there is, as you know, there's going to be remediation to be done on site, but we are yet to hear as to the cost of that remediation, and there's going to be remediation on the house. You know, with I believe the house had asbestos, lead, and PCBs that need to be looked at. And once that's resolved, then it can be thrown in a dumpster and you know, taken away either to Ohio or New Hampshire, whatever they take those things to. And that's about it. That's all I have.
Okay. E, legislation.
None.
F, conferences.
There's some training that is being provided out there. I'm going to send it to you. I just received it yesterday, so I'll send it out again to see whether or not it's of interest to the committee. I think it's the same training that was done by the district and the DEP, the combined training. So I'll pass it on.
Okay. Correspondences, communications.
The only communication that I have, and it's been via email regarding 10 Ramblewood, and it's the same fellow that was brought into this committee in October and November of last year. So I've been communicating with the attorney, with his attorney, expressing the fact that it is springtime and we need to move on a plan that will be satisfactory to this committee, so we can, you know, so it can be implemented. And I was hoping that it could be done in April, but you know, May is still a good planting plan, so I'm hoping to get him in for the May meeting, and so we can move forward.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other business? Hearing none at that point, I think it's time to look for a motion to adjourn for the month. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second? I see Commissioner O'Connor's made a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Meeting's over. 6:36. Thanks,
You
everybody.
guys.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Where is me?